It's so sore. But the show must go on. Hello again, team. It's Jess or JashiiCorrin, and welcome back for my November Plan With Me video. In today's video, as can be expected, I'll be setting up for November 2019 in my bullet journal. But before we get into that, we're first going to just have a flip through of October. So for October, my theme was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we had my splash page featuring the pink ribbon, my monthly log, bucket list and holiday to-do list, and then all of my trackers were on Dutch doors. So we had the habits and steps trackers, my social media scheduler, my monthly challenge page and 1 word a day, and my meal log. After this, we're into my weeklies. So the first week and second, I decided to put both of these on individual pages because it was the middle of the holidays. I didn't really need a lot of space. We had a Dutch Door weekly, a relatively simple weekly, my term 4 timeline, and then the week that's coming up. For November, my theme is butterflies. Originally it was going to be fairies, but I'm not the greatest at drawing people, so I figured I'd get rid of the person and just stick with the wings. Before we jump into the time lapse, just a reminder that any of the equipment I use in today's setup is linked in the description box below. For November, I originally knew that I wanted to do a purple, blue and green colour palette, but I wasn't too sure on what overall theme I wanted. Initially, I considered doing a peacock feather theme, just given the colour palette. But then when I asked you guys over on the community tab what you thought I should do, Shayna suggested fairies. I thought this was a gorgeous idea, so I did start to brainstorm and pencil out some fairy spreads. Then I realised that, given my lack of confidence in drawing people, it wasn't going to happen. I decided to tweak my theme to be butterflies instead, which meant that I still got to do layouts with all of my colour choices, and I could still use at least some of the spreads that I'd already planned out. Now, I know that a few people have done butterfly themes within the past few months to a year, but one person I'd like to shout out with regards to this is Dutch Colour Love over on Instagram. When I was on the hunt for inspo, I was really drawn to their spreads, the main reason for which was the colour they used. Although I haven't made any of my spreads in the same form as theirs, I do totally love what they did with the butterfly theme. For the butterflies, I used to decorate my splash page and some of the other pages in my setup. I used this butterfly sticker set that I've had for a while now. This one I got at Riot Art over in Australia when I was visiting my family one time. I just hadn't gotten around to using it. The cool part about these stickers is that outside of the black and the foiled sections, the paper can be coloured in. I used my Tombow gel brush markers to colour in the open sections for the butterflies, which made for a super easy way to get them to tie in with my colour palette. For most of my colouring, I had my face essentially right on top of the stickers, so that I could make sure not to go outside of the lines. But the clips that I have here for you give the general gist of how it was done. For the cover page specifically, as you saw, I first let it in November with a light grey Tombow, and then outlined this with a Muji pen. I found it really helpful to, rather than going straight in with the Tombow, first penciling out what I wanted my letter forms to look like in terms of spacing and thickening downstrokes. I'm not the most confident with brush lettering, and I found this really helpful. I also made sure to erase those pencil guidelines before going around the edge with my Muji pen, because more than once, I've ended up getting pretty bad smudging with this pen when I haven't let it dry fully. At that stage, I wasn't too sure how or if I wanted to decorate the lettering any further, but after sticking my butterflies down and drawing in some flight paths with dotted lines, I decided that I wanted my headers to match the butterfly's wings. To achieve this, I just filled in the inside of the letter with different sized circular shapes, and then filled any extra space between the circles in black. When all of the pattern was drawn out, I then coloured in the circles, again using my Tombows. I'm thinking that I might end up adding some white highlights with my Uniball Signo pen, but at this stage I haven't done that. With all of the colouring on my cover page done, it was on to my monthly log. I don't actually remember if I've mentioned it previously, but I've essentially decided that for the entire of this planner, I'm going with calendar-style monthly logs. I'm not sure if I'll continue that in my 2020 bullet journals, but for now, I'm still enjoying that style. In terms of spacing, as I've mentioned before, for the dingbats, I use a 7x7 square box for each day of the month. The pages of the dingbats are 28 squares across, so this fits really, really nicely. After ruling up my calendar grid, I put in the headers for each day of the week. The lettering for these ones involves an all caps coloured text in the back, and then a very small and spaced out cursive using the Muji pen over the top. It was nice using a few different lettering styles for this month's setup. The main header style, while quite decorative and fun to look at, took forever to draw out, and really it only works well with larger text, so wouldn't really have been suitable for the days of the week. As I've been doing for the past couple months, my monthly log also comes with a quote. The quote that I have on the side of this page is one of my favourites. It says, "Butterflies can't see their wings. They can't see how truly beautiful they are. People are like that too." A bit of a shame that I can't spell, but it was nice to finally put this quote into my journal all the same. For decoration on this page, although I was originally going to draw out some butterflies, I had some of my stickers left over and decided to use a few of those instead. I feel like it might be a bit difficult to see the foiling in most of my shots, but here's a close-up of the stickers. The foil is kind of a cool copper, maybe? I wouldn't really call it rose gold, but it's certainly not gold and it's not silver. For the numbers for each day of the month, I used some small number stickers from an American Crafted sticker book, and then for the header of the spread, I just did the same style from the cover page. As I said, this lettering style takes forever. Just as a reference, the entire Today setup took me about 5 hours to complete. Once I'd coloured in my header, I then used the light grey Tombow again to add a very faint drop shadow, and then it was onto my bucket list and mood tracker pages. This spread alone took about 2 hours to complete, but thanks to the magic of time-lapse and editing, you guys don't have to sit around for all of that. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll probably have noticed that I like boxes and symmetry and things that involve rulers. So with that in mind, it's totally understandable why this spread took me such a while. For the bucket list, instead of having a set number of sectioned off areas for each of my items, I'm letting this page be a bit more freeform. In the lower left corner, I'm drawing in this butterfly landing on a flower that I found from googling butterfly landing on a flower drawing. The original of this one I have linked in the description box below, but it was by kittycat727 over on DeviantArt. The idea for this one is that I'll write my bucket list items around this decoration with little checkboxes so that I can tick them off if and when they happen. I have quite a lot happening in November, including my best friend's bachelorette party and wedding, so I know that those will certainly feature on this list. For my bucket list butterfly, I actually really liked how it looked in just black and white, so I decided not to colour it in. I figured that, seeing as it's going to be right next to my mood log, come the end of November, there is certainly going to be enough colour on this spread with that alone. I also figured that if I do end up feeling that the page needs a bit of colour for balancing, I can always colour it in later, or I could use a colour in some way when putting in my bucket list items. To make this one look a little more detailed though, I did add in some thin shadowing lines. For the headers on these pages, I used a combination of the lettering that I did on the splash page and monthly log, and also just a simple all-caps style using my Tombow Futunovsky calligraphy pen. For the mood tracker, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to have a page full of butterflies, so that's exactly what I did. When penciling this one out, I started by drawing 30 slightly curved crosses so that I could see where each of my butterflies would be placed. I did then start to draw the wings in with the pencil as well, but after about 6 butterflies, I got lazy, and I figured that it wouldn't be the end of the world if I just went straight in with pen. For the most part, I don't regret that decision. This page took long enough to do as it is, and it certainly would have taken longer if I had have done all of the wings in with pencil first. For the penning, I started by putting in the heads and bodies, just double checking that I had 30, and then started to draw in the wings. Although I repeat some elements in the patterns of the wings on these, no two butterflies are the same. Well, I mean, of course they're not, because I'm freehanding things here. For this tracker, I'm going to be recording my overall mood, health, and stress level for each day. These are on a really simple scale of positive and negative, with the darker colours for the negative options. I did something similar to this back in November of last year, actually using similar colours as well, but that one was a succulent theme. Just because I often get asked when I post my mood trackers, in terms of filling this one in, I do typically only fill in one colour for each day. I am human, so like most of you, I do experience a range of emotions in any given day, but I can normally pick one overall colour to represent the mood I was in for most of the day. Normally on a mood tracker, I'll give myself a range of about 6 colours, and for the most part I can select one to represent the day as a whole. Sometimes there are special circumstances though, and in those cases I will use more than one. On a tracker like this one though, where I'm tracking mood, health, and stress, each day is going to have 3 colours. So a combination of bright or dark for each of purple, blue, and green. An all bright colour day means that I was in a positive mood, I felt well, and I wasn't stressed. While an all dark colour day means that I was in a negative mood, I felt unwell, and I was stressed. With everything drawn out, colour added where needed, and a really sore hand, it was on to my tracker page. Rather than having separate pages for each of my different trackers, for November I decided to combine them into one spread. This is mainly because I'm kind of starting to worry about whether I'm going to have enough room to fit in everything I want to before the end of 2019. So I figured this was a good way to save on some space and give myself a little bit of peace of mind. On this one, I have the left-hand page for my habits, steps, and fluid intake, while on the right-hand page, I have a mini calendar for reference, my Instagram and YouTube schedule, and my monthly challenges. I haven't decided what my challenges for the month are going to be just yet, but I know that I wanted to try and have challenges be things that I don't track daily. So an example of this could be something like, make it so that all of my regular bills come in less than the month prior, or something like that. For the habits that I'm tracking in November, I've given myself space for taking my morning pill, hair care, productivity, leisure time, finishing work by 5 PM, filling in my journal, using my PowerSheets, not having fast food, having my evening pill, and getting to bed by 10 PM. In terms of steps, I've given myself space to record up to 7,000 steps, as this is my daily goal. Yes, I know, most people who track steps have a goal of at least 10,000, but I'm not about that 10k life. Yet. For fluid intake, I've given myself 8 spaces, with each space representing a cup. In terms of my Instagram and YouTube schedulers, these are pretty much unchanged as for how they usually are. But overall, I'm really interested to see how this combination tracker page turns out. I'm hoping that it gets good use and that it holds me accountable. For my November meal log, I'm setting this up a little bit differently to normal. Instead of having a column for each of my meals, those being breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, I've still got 4 main columns, but within each of these, there's space to record the date, which meal I'm eating, my hunger level before and after the meal, whether the meal was a healthy choice, and then space to write down what the food actually was. I'm hoping that this will help me be a little bit more mindful of my eating, and help me to better recognize when I am and am not actually hungry. And as a final flip through, we have my splash page, my monthly log, bucket list and mood tracker, other tracker page, and my meal log. Thank you for watching, team. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you wanted to see more from me, feel free to go check out one of my other videos. Until next time, bye!